Good evening, welcome to ITV News and Monday night's calendar.
Here are tonight's main stories.
Developments in the investigation into the crash that killed a 12-year-old boy on the M62 in West Yorkshire.
A man's under arrest on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. Meanwhile, police have made a fresh appeal to anyone with footage to come forward.
Also on calendar tonight, a cost of eating crisis as a council puts school meal prices up by almost £1 a day. We speak to parents who say they'll struggle to afford the increase.
Putting it up by 95p, not a lot of people are going to be able to afford to pay that. We will be pushing children into poverty and into hunger.
Hundreds of scouts from the region leave the World Scout Jamboree site in South Korea after flooding, a heatwave, and now there's a typhoon warning.
And the concrete condiments which tower over the town of Goole. But why are they dividing opinion? I'll have the full story a little later.
Our top story tonight. A man's been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving after a 12-year-old boy was killed on the M62 near Cleckheaton at the weekend.
The boy was hit close to Hartshead Moor services at 10 to 10 on Saturday night, but the car didn't stop.
Police are now looking for anyone who might have footage of the crash or the car to get in touch. Well, Michael Billington is live near the scene for us tonight. And Michael, clearly a tragic loss of life.
Yes, Ian, police have described what happened here on Saturday night as a dreadful incident, but in the last few hours they've confirmed that a 47-year-old man from the Bolton area has been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. They also say they have recovered the car involved in the crash with the 12-year-old boy. As for the victim, we've not yet been told his name, but I understand that post-mortem tests have been carried out and specialist police officers are working to support the family. Now, what we do know is that the 12-year-old boy was struck on the eastbound side of the M62 here at Hartshead Moor services on Saturday night, but his body was found on the westbound carriageway. Police say he was trying to cross from the central reservation over to the hard shoulder when he was hit, but the vehicle involved, a black Toyota, didn't stop.
And Michael, do we have any idea why the boy was on the motorway in the first place?
Well, that's unclear at the moment, but police say they think he may have been walking with a man after a crash on the slip road to the motorway services here around 20 minutes earlier. When emergency services arrived, they found a man suffering minor injuries on the hard shoulder and took him to hospital for treatment. Tonight, a 36-year-old man is still being held by police on suspicion of causing or allowing the death of a child.
And we've heard about this black Toyota. Do we know what happened to the vehicle between when it hit the boy and when it was recovered by the police later?
Well, at some point between 9:50 and 10:30 on Saturday night, officers believe that it may have travelled from the Chain Bar roundabout further east along the M62 here in West Yorkshire and west for a couple of miles along the A58. Now, when it was recovered, it had damage to the front and to the windscreen. Police are now asking anyone who may have seen it or indeed recorded footage of it on CCTV or dash cam to get in touch as they try to piece together the exact circumstances that led to the tragic death of this 12-year-old boy.
Yes, a very sad story. Michael Billington live above the M62 in West Yorkshire. Thank you.
Well, next tonight, parents in Derbyshire fear a rise of more than 40% in the cost of school meals will leave some children going hungry.
The increase of 95 pence a day has been described as ridiculous and unaffordable for families already struggling with soaring gas and electricity bills. Children from low-income households are entitled to free school meals, but families just above the threshold say it's hard to make ends meet.
But the council says it too is finding it hard to balance the books and that something has got to give. Katie Oscroft has the story.
Oh, all done, Ruben.
Tanya's brought her two youngest children, Marley and Ruben, to the park. It's not halfway through the summer holidays, but the rise in school meal prices has given her something to worry about before term even starts.
It's already extortionate, isn't it? So I dread to think when it actually does go up. Yeah.
Can you afford an extra 95 pence a day for three children?
Probably not, no. No, can't afford it now, really, can we? My partner works, luckily, so he keeps us afloat. But like my friends struggle.
Derbyshire's school meals will rise by 95 pence from £2.30 to £3.25.
Hello.
Heidi also has 3 children. Erin's at secondary school. She sees the financial pressures families are under just as much as her mum.
I don't know why they had to increase it that much, because people's pay rises aren't increasing at the same time.
The price rise is quite ridiculous. I think it definitely needs reviewing, doesn't it?
Derbyshire County Council's Cabinet Member for Education says the decision was taken with a heavy heart.
That is an awful lot of money for parents. Could you not have found that money elsewhere?
Well, if we were to look at other means, that would mean ultimately subsidising the service. If we were to keep the prices artificially low, we'd have to find the money from somewhere else.
We've got families around here struggling to keep the heating on. You know, this is a cost of living crisis, and to be asking, say, a mum and a dad to be finding an extra 95p a day for each child, we will be pushing children into poverty and into hunger.
In a statement, the Department for Education said schools are responsible for providing nutritious school meals and can agree individual contracts to meet this duty, using their core funding, which has increased by £2 billion in each of the next 2 years. But in Bolsover, there's a petition calling for the increase to be scrapped.
Putting it up by 95p. Not a lot of people are going to be able to afford to pay that.
The prices of even food shopping keeps going up. You're not going to be able to afford sandwiches either, are you? So
there's a lot of families struggling.
Some parents find the school holidays hard to budget for. They may now have to work harder to balance the books in term time too. Katie Oscroft, ITV News, Bolsover.
Well, this is Monday's calendar and still to come. 7th heaven, Barnsley get the new football season off to a bang at Oakwell.
And many of us are looking for a little bit of a vitamin D boost this week. Will the sunshine be incoming? Well, the forecast is on its way.
More of the day's news now, and a man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman was found stabbed in a house near Doncaster. Police were called to reports of a dispute at a house on Main Street in Sprotbrough on Saturday evening. A woman was found with stab wounds and died a short time later. A 52-year-old man was arrested at the scene.
Convicted paedophile and former rock star Ian Watkins has been treated in hospital after reports he was stabbed in Wakefield Prison. Watkins, who was frontman of the band Lost Prophets, is serving 29 years for multiple child sex offences. According to reports, he was taken hostage by 3 other inmates yesterday morning. The prison service and West Yorkshire Police are investigating.
West Yorkshire is one of the worst places in the country for deliberate attacks on animals, according to new figures from the RSPCA. There were 30 reported incidents of animals being targeted with weapons in the county in the last 3.5 years. That includes this cygnet, which was shot with an air rifle on a canal near Silsden last year, and also this cat, which was shot in the head and dumped in a carrier bag in Leeds. There were a further 25 incidents reported in South Yorkshire and 16 in North Yorkshire.
Around 300 teenagers from Yorkshire and Lincolnshire are among the first to have left the site of the World Scout Jamboree in South Korea.
Yes, the international event is to be closed down due to an approaching tropical storm, but the UK contingent had already pulled out due to conditions on the campsite.
Well, these are some images of what the site looked like on Friday. Our scouts are now staying in hotels in the capital city, Seoul, as Lauren Hall reports.
This isn't the Jamboree experience our scouts were expecting when they travelled from the Calendar region to South Korea. Thousands of young people have been relocating to the capital city, Seoul, swapping their tents for hotel rooms. They're now set to be followed by tens of thousands more. At this earlier press conference, we heard details of an approaching typhoon, prompting the decision to close down the World Scout Jamboree. Our scouts set off the week before last for what was supposed to be the ultimate camping trip.
Where are we going? South Korea!
But they were only at the campsite a few days. According to the head of UK Scouts, it was no longer safe to stay.
We are disappointed and feel let down by the organisers.
We raised concerns repeatedly. We had reassurances that things were going to be put in place, but I'm afraid it was too little too late.
The UK contingent says it pulled out due to issues with sanitation and medical care, as well as a lack of food. There was also a heat wave causing concern.
You can't gamble with young people's lives. That's why we took the view that we should leave here for Seoul, and now we're putting on an engaging programme, working with other partners and ensuring those young people still have great memories.
The Jamboree's organisers were trying to improve conditions before the news of the tropical storm. They're now rolling out an emergency evacuation plan for the tens of thousands of scouts from other countries who are still at the campsite. Back in Seoul, the British Embassy stepped in and is helping to organise a new programme of activities.
It is sad, I think, for some that we had to leave because we obviously did sign up to be in a Jamboree, but I think everyone does understand why we had to go.
I was sad to leave the Jamboree, however, I think it is for the best because I wasn't feeling that great, and now we've got aircon, so I'm feeling much better now.
Their trip will certainly be memorable. The challenge now is to make sure it's for the right reasons. Lauren Hall, ITV News.
Yeah, now then, next tonight, the Mansfield-based Olympic gold medalist Rebecca Adlington is leading a campaign to increase access to swimming lessons for young people.
Figures from Swim England show there's a 15% shortfall in swimming teachers in our region, and that's leaving thousands of children missing out on the potentially life-saving lessons. Nick Smith has more.
Teaching youngsters how to be confident in the water can be extremely rewarding. It's why swimming teachers like Gemma Barnard conduct classes like this one at Swim Leeds in Batley, but she worries there aren't enough like her to meet demand.
This one I think is a mixture of the amount of children that we have at the minute compared to people that actually are wanting to become a swim instructor, as well as like the physical demand of the job. Like as you can see here, it's quite hard being a swimming teacher, with 6 children, especially in the environment that we work. So I absolutely adore being a swimming teacher because it's the faces on the kids when they've learned something new, and you can see the children's face and it just makes your day.
Swim England surveys of families using pools once a week found that most reported high levels of happiness. In the middle of a cost of living crisis, swimming at leisure centres is still ranked as one of the most affordable activities for families when compared to things like bowling or trips to the cinema. But it's only accessible to those able to learn to do it in the first place. 4-time Olympic medal winner Rebecca Adlington is campaigning for more provision for swimming teachers and local pool space to give more youngsters a chance to learn.
I think, yes, obviously swimming is a fantastic Olympic sport. It's brilliant that we win lots of medals, but to me, swimming's more than that. It isn't just something that is an elite sport, it's that life skill. It's just fundamental that people learn how to swim, because actually the world is 70% water. You are going to meet water at some point in your life. Even outside of lessons and swimming clubs and elite programs, you just have family activities.
My favourite part about swimming is playing with your friends. One of the teachers told me, if you fall in a pond, you spread out your hands and that, and then shout help.
You know the swimming strokes. What's your favourite one, and tell me why?
My favourite one is the basic one. It's easier and faster. Yeah.
Mine is, I think it's the one on your back and then you kick with your legs. So that's what I think.
Local pools are so often a lifeline for those seeking an affordable family activity or exercise, and those involved in swimming teaching are determined they remain accessible and have the staff needed to pass on this important life skill. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Following relegation from the Premier League in May, many are tipping Leeds to bounce straight back up. But at half-time yesterday, well, those predictions were looking ill-judged, with the Whites 2-0 down to Cardiff. Liam Cooper started the comeback, and then 5 minutes into injury time, Crescencio Somerville swept home a deserved equaliser. Elsewhere, Rotherham were beaten heavily at Stoke. Lee Peltier scored for the Millers, but any hope of a comeback was extinguished when Cafu was sent off on his debut. At least he saw the funny side, though. Hillsborough was bouncing when Lee Gregory equalised for Sheffield Wednesday on Friday, but former Sheffield United man Che Adams silenced the crowd when he won it for Southampton 3 minutes from time. And it was a long and unhappy trip to Devon for the 1,600 or so Huddersfield fans at Plymouth. At least Michael Hellett gave them something to cheer.
We're disappointed. We go home and we have to prepare now for Leicester next week. You know, we've got a tough run in this first month, but we can do better than what we did. And 2 or 3 players I was disappointed in. I told them, you know, after as well. So we've just got to do better, that's all. The fans were brilliant. Can't, you know, all the way down here, 1,600 fans. I can't complain at all.
Well, no complaints either from new Barnsley manager Neil Collins. A dream start for him at Oakwell. Devante Cole scored a hat-trick, but this was the pick of the 7 goals Barnsley scored. A pinpoint pass from Herbie Kane and a clinical finish from Liam Kitchen. An easy defender, you know.
You always hope to get off to a good start. And the important thing is, like, how do you do that? So I think we've worked really hard this week, the players, the staff. But fantastic for the players. They went out, the first game can be a lot of emotions, but I thought they handled everything that Coach threw at them and then answered it.
And in League Two, Harrogate maintained their impressive record of winning all of their opening day games since promotion to the Football League in 2020. That was at the expense of Doncaster. Mansfield threw away a 2-goal lead to draw at Crewe, and it was a disappointing start to the season for Bradford, who lost at Crawley. Now, the new Premier League season is kicking off this coming weekend, and Sheffield United could be about to lose another one of their key players. Reports suggest that Norwegian international Sander Berge is in talks with fellow newly promoted side Burnley. Following the departure of Iliman and Jai last week, well, this will be another major blow ahead of the Blades' first game of the season against Crystal Palace at Bramall Lane on Saturday. And a couple of players from our region have been named in the England squad for this summer's Rugby Union World Cup. For veteran Danny Kerr from Leeds, this will probably be his last World Cup, whereas Steaton's Jack Walker, well, this will be his first. There was yet more success for Leeds' multi-Paralympic and world champion Kadina Cox over the weekend. The 32-year-old, who's both a champion sprinter and cyclist, was on her bike at the World Championships in Glasgow, winning the C4 500-metre time trial in impressive fashion. And finally from me, a Lifetime's collection of football memorabilia has fetched around £30,000 at auction. Kit, autographs and programmes amassed over 50 years were discovered crammed into a cottage in Wetherby. Lifelong Leeds United supporter Edward Spink's collection included a 100-year-old Leeds versus Wolves programme thought to be the last in existence. I wouldn't mind having a read of that programme.
I wouldn't.
Can't touch it though, but it's really frail, isn't it?
It fell apart. Can you imagine being the last one?
I wouldn't want it to disintegrate in my fingers, would you?
I think you need to sit down, Chris. That was very comprehensive.
Yeah. I'm out of
Thank you very much.
But yeah, I'll cope.
We'll see you later.
Thanks.
Perhaps these scripts will be like that one.
Possibly. I don't know if anyone will keep them that long. Anyway, now to the Yorkshire town, which is steeped in history and now is at the centre of a row over the name of its old water towers. They're known locally as the Salt and Pepper Pots.
Yes, most believe Goole's long, tall brown structure should be known as Pepper and the larger, wider white one as the Salt, but it's an opinion not shared by all.
Now, the town's civic society wants to recreate the famous buildings in smaller condiment sets to be sold to mark the town's bicentenary in 2026. It's an issue which needs some ironing out, so who better to do it than our man Matt Price.
They are the concrete condiments which tower over the town of Goole. These Grade 2 listed buildings are affectionately known as the Salt and Pepper Pots. But there's a problem, a generational divide, a town split in two, and one big question which needs answering. Which is salt? Which is pepper?
The salt's the white one and pepper's the brown one.
Who cares? Who cares? The people of Goole.
The pepper pot's a tall one.
The brown one, the red one?
You want to get online, have a look at the pictures. You'll see that the pepper pot was moved to the other side of the salt pot.
Right.
The pepper is the small, thin one.
OK. Not the white one?
No, that's water.
Water? To be fair, any talk of water is quite apt. These salt and pepper pots once helped supply Goole with the wet stuff for years. The town's preparing to celebrate its bicentenary in 2026, and the plan is for these towers to be made into tiny salt and pepper pots for all to enjoy. Did you ever think this would be such a talking point in Goole?
No, absolutely not. I've even been contacted by Australian radio. And I just can't believe that. I asked them why they liked it, and they said they thought it was a great story about a community coming together and discussing an issue that wasn't too heavy.
All well-known places have their landmarks, don't they? The Eiffel Tower in Paris, the Statue of Liberty in New York. Over in Hull, they've got the Humber Bridge. Here in Goole, it's the salt and pepper pots, and they're rightly proud of their history. The thin red brick tower came first in 1885. It was joined by its neighbour, a white concrete structure and more than double the girth, in 1927. Paul, who worked on the towers, is something of a Goole laureate. An expert in all things Goole, he has fond memories of them growing up.
I used to love going on holiday to Blackpool in Yarmouth, and we'd be on a boat. We used to go on bus trips with families, stuff like that, and we'd be sat, my dad would shout, "Fishing to see salt and pepper pot gets told, Bob," right? And we'd be looking out on the bus and say, "I've seen him, I've seen Whiting, I've seen salt pot."
The townspeople have about 3 years to decide which one is which before the big day. A seasoned pro like Paul will tell you the white one is the salt, but that debate will continue for many months to come. Matt Price, ITV News in Goole.
Incredible, isn't it? The only salt and pepper in this studio, I'm sorry to say it, Lisa, is my hair. Look, salt and pepper hair.
Distinguished.
I'm a man of a certain
Distinguished.
age.
It's just like the landmarks of Goole.
Now, finally, organisers have hailed this year's Leeds Pride as a huge success after tens of thousands of people turned out for Yorkshire's biggest parade. Leeds Pride is now in its 18th year, celebrating the area's LGBTQ+ community.
I think what this says about the people of Leeds is that they love a good party, they love a good celebration, and the fact that Leeds Pride is probably the biggest and the most exciting thing to get involved in says that the people of Leeds are well up for it, they love it, and I think they love a good party.
Oh, they do. And Terry's got salt and pepper hair too, hasn't he?
Yes,
I'm not alone. You don't mind me saying that, Terry.
It must be a trend. I tell you who else likes a good party. That's Jo Blythe. She's here with the weather.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello, a very good evening to you. Some sunshine around today and 1 or 2 showers. These will continue into this evening, but in general our weather is settling down into the middle part of this week. Warm sunshine offer, generally dry. It is, however, a rather short-lived settled spell of weather, with more changeable conditions returning into this weekend. That's the high pressure trying to build in for Wednesday and Thursday, giving us a decent couple of days, it has to be said. But waiting in the wings, low pressure in the Atlantic, and by the end of Friday, a cold front will be moving across our part of the world, bringing that more unsettled weather for this weekend. Back to this evening, some sunshine around to end the day, and overnight tonight, clear skies, lots of dry weather, but a few showers just feeding through as we go through into the early hours of Tuesday morning. Temperature-wise, perhaps rurally down to 8 or 9 degrees tonight. Towns and cities should stay in double figures. And those are the sun times for tomorrow. It'll be up at 5:32, setting tomorrow evening at 8:51. Not a bad start to the day tomorrow. Lots of sunshine around, just 1 or 2 showers through the middle part of that very early part of the morning across the region. And then into the afternoon, it should be largely dry for most. The best of the sunshine will tend to be north of the Humber tomorrow. Further south, slightly more cloud cover and perhaps a bit of drizzle here and there. But it should be a largely dry day for most. Temperatures are just below average for the time of year, 19 or 20 Celsius, but they will be picking up on Wednesday and Thursday. Not a bad day at all to come midweek. Thursday, more cloud around but dry. It's unsettled by the end of Friday. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thank you very much, Jo. You know, lovely weather while we're all at work. Goes downhill towards the weekend. And this weather's playing havoc with the cricket fixtures. There's 100 at Headingley this weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not looking good.
Not good, is it? Well, that's it from Lisa and from me for calendar for tonight. I'm back at 10:30 and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Bye-bye.